We know now that broadband is an essential part of any economic development strategy for community vitality. Red is, stop. We're just not going anywhere without good broadband. I've seen a survey now that says up to 70% of people won't buy a home unless it has quality broadband to the home. When you think about that, same is true for towns. If you have, trying to promote your industrial park, your downtown areas, broadband is near the top of everyone's site selection list. And so that's, if you don't have it, you definitely need it. You see in a lot of that purple color is a DSL service. And that's a service that can provide pretty good internet service if you're fairly close to where the electronics are, usually within about 3,000 feet or a half mile. So you can see that many of the areas in purple, those are considered underserved in Minnesota, and they are eligible for the grants, but because of the priority to provide grants to unserved areas, those purple areas don't get much attention when it comes to the state grant dollars. And so unserved are those people with under 25 megabits down and 3 megabits up for broadband. Underserved is between 25 megabits and 100 megabits download, and served is considered anything over 100. Minnesota has two broadband goals. One is that says everyone should have 25 megabits down and 3 megabits up by 2022. I tend to ignore that goal. That's currently tied to the federal standard for broadband from the FCC, which is 25.3. That goal 8 years ago, I guess 9 years ago now, was less than 1 megabit, that federal standard. It was 768 kilobits per second. They didn't even have an upload speed for theirs. So in 8 years, that federal standard went up 30-fold. The speed of technology changed that much. If you look out another 8 years, that would mean the goal might be, or the standard might be 750 megabits. Which sounds kind of crazy, but you think now that in many areas, gigabit level service, or 1,000 megabits per second, is available. The other thing I would say about this map is that those areas in green that have the fiber networks, they can offer services that are both high-speed up and download speeds. Where the areas in the purple and in the red have networks that deliver one speed for download, usually a higher speed, then the upload speed is 10% or 25% of that download speed. You should know that download speed is consumption. You're buying things from the internet service provider. Upload speed is production. That's economic development. That's where you have people who are engineers or artists or photographers creating content, building large files, and sending those to other places. And so the upload speed is really the important part. We often hear some critics say, well, broadband, all that speed is just for entertainment, for Netflix, and make it derogatory. But no one says that about roads. That, I'm going to take the car and go to a movie, right? That's for entertainment, or go out for dinner. And so, just people make different uses of different infrastructures for different purposes. But know that upload speed, if it's going to make a difference in your community, you need to have it. When we talk about speeds, most people talk about download speed as, we got this or that. But there's also, as I mentioned, the download speed or the upload speed is a critical part of the value when you're assessing your own internet services in your own community. So that upload speed is really important. But also, just like the daycare piece, affordability. It doesn't do any good to have, you can get a 100 megabit connection if it's $500. For me as a home business person, I might be willing to pay that because that's the number one business expense I have besides my car to drive around to communities. But that affordability is critical for families as they're looking at their own paycheck. How do we pay for daycare, but how do we pay for internet so our kids who are in school can make use of the technology tools that are out there? So that affordability is a huge issue. More and more reliability is a critical piece. The more you use internet for your business or schools or healthcare, the more valuable it becomes, and the more important it is that it works when you need it. And we have all kinds of people that I talk to with unreliable service. They say it's almost worse than having no service at all. Because at 9:30, when the kid's trying to turn their homework in and the internet is down, then what? It's a drive to town, to the library, to sit outside the McDonald's, to send in your homework. And it's funny, the internet ate my homework, I guess is the new joke on that, compared to the dog ate my homework. But the internet was down would be a reasonable excuse in many rural communities. And so that's a challenge. We know that mobility is a critical piece. Everyone here, they used to call it the BlackBerry prayer. That's how old I am. That people will be looking down at their phones. But now, that's an important thing, that people can work from any time, any place. But know that all these wireless networks are dependent on fiber to carry the signal. So you may be on a wireless signal here, but that's going about 150 feet where it connects to probably a fiber connection provided by Alexandria Light and Power to the internet. And that's the same thing with cell phones. Your cellular call or internet service, your wireless, your signal is only going wirelessly to that tower you can see where it's connected by fiber, and then emerges on the other end to connect to another wireless device closer to where they are. But there's no doubt that everything is going wireless, but the wireless requires fiber. And so just remember those two things. We've heard a lot about 5G wireless. And that'll take care of everything. It'll be gigabit wirelessly. And they're going to have that now at the Vikings Plaza for the Super Bowl, it'll be 5G wireless. Number one, there's no real devices that use 5G yet at this point. And then second, know that those 5G signals maybe go 1,000 feet, right? Which is some of your driveways, maybe in terms of the length of those. So a fiber network supporting 5G is almost the same thing as a fiber to the home network in a rural area. And I know that the cities have a huge issue with the idea of AT&T and Verizon, the wireless companies, wanting to put boxes and devices wherever they want in right-of-ways. They need many, many, many devices in order to run these 5G networks. And we know that there's many parts of rural Minnesota that they don't have 4G, or some places don't have 3G wireless services yet. So we know that these 5G services will be put in places like football stadiums and college campuses and corporate campuses, downtown Minneapolis, well before they're anywhere near to rural areas. And then the final piece on here, probably can't see it, is latency. And that's really the delay. Some people say that satellite service is the answer for rural Minnesota. And you can't do a lot of things using technology with a satellite system because those satellites are 20,000 miles up in the sky. And it takes almost a second to get up and back, 750 milliseconds or so for that to happen. On a fiber network, what they call your ping is maybe under 10 milliseconds. And so it's little or no delay. But if you try to do Skype or something like that on a satellite connection, it'd be more like talking on a CB radio. If you have to say, over, I'm done talking. Otherwise you end up talking over each other. And so that latency is an important thing when you're trying to hook into corporate local area networks, so you can do telecommuting or interactive kind of activities and so on. There's some talk of lower Earth orbit satellites, which would reduce that latency. We'll have to see about how that happens. We know that broadband now increasingly drives rural vitality. We've got a couple different proofs of this that I'm going to show you. First is Robert Gallardo. He's a professor now at Purdue, but was at Mississippi State, created this digital divide index, and essentially combines broadband costs and availability with socioeconomic criteria that affects the digital divide. Those people who don't have the device, the connection, and the skills to know how to use technology. And I think you'll find this information very interesting. So here in Minnesota, if you're brown, you don't want to be brown or red in this, you want to be light yellow. This is the digital divide index. You know, the lower connected counties and the highest ones. And you can take a look at your own location. I'm sorry how this came out on the, Minnesota's not quite as tall on this as it maybe should be. But you can see your counties, and you can see the areas that have high concentrations of older people that have bad broadband connection, higher levels of poverty. And if you look at those areas, think about the economic performance of those in the last years or so. You can just, for example, up in the top right corner is Cook County. They're yellow. They've got a fiber to the home network. Up in the north central there, that's around the Fall Bunyan Telecommunications Network in Bemidji. Certainly around the Twin Cities, down Tim Penny's area, down in southeast Minnesota. And then if you look to the west and the east central areas struggling. These charts show this digital divide index, and this one shows growth in population and labor force. So you can see, this is Minnesota. We had 3.4% growth in population and 2.4% growth in workforce. This area shows the counties with the lowest digital divide index. They outperform the state by almost from 3.4 to 5% or 2.4 to 3.7%. The second lowest digital divide index, which you want a low index in this case. And then these are the counties that lack good broadband. Negative 2.6% on workforce. We know that economic development these days is trying to attract people and investment, and especially attract people. And so people won't come to your community, your county, because their broadband is poor. But this shows the results. This shows the same kind of information, but around establishments of businesses, paid employers, and then self-employed people. And I'm self-employed. More and more people, and what they, the sharing economy, the gig economy, are piecing together their own self-employment to make a living. So you can see here the numbers in Minnesota: 3.5%, 1.9, 4.1. Again, the best connected areas, much different. And again, it just gets worse and worse the more disconnected you are. And so that's some great data that is available county by county here in Minnesota. So you can go online. It's on the Blandon Foundation blog. It's called Blandon on Broadband. You can find that data for your own county. And then this fall, Ann Tracy, a colleague of mine that works with Blandon, and myself went out and interviewed interviewed folks in 5 counties, 5 areas, talk about where great broadband connectivity meets smart economic development strategy and the things that they're doing. And it's really an impressive display by these rural communities that I think are setting the course for long-term economic sustainability, but it's all based on a foundation of great broadband connectivity. So these are the places we look at regional center type communities. Sibley County is kind of an outlier here. They have a fiber to the home network combined with fiber fed wireless. We talked about the things that they're doing. But the key trends here is that in areas that have got great broadband, it becomes almost invisible. Just like electricity or water from the tap, it's just there. So as economic developers, they don't have to worry about trying to get better broadband service. They're out there making things happen, making use of that. But it's kind of funny because especially in Red Wing and in Bemidji, they've had great broadband for a while. And so we said, well, you know, how does broadband help you do your business? They don't even think of it that way. They just are using the technology to make great things happen. Well, we know that the providers in those communities are partners in terms of their economic development efforts because they see then that the market development of the network, more people using more bandwidth doing greater things, is a great win for that provider. And most of these providers are all kind of local organizations. They know that it attracts people and investment. In Lake County, we had interviewed a guy, and he's just moving now to Lake County. And he said when he was driving around, he looked for the most remote place he could find, pull out his phone, and he could get a wireless signal. He says, this looks like the place. It's about 20 miles outside of Two Harbors, and that's where he's going to set up his business, which is very tech dependent. So people are choosing where to live. And if you think about that state broadband map, a lot of people look at that map and say, I'm only moving where it's green. And so again, if we try and attract people and investment to rural areas, if you're red, you know, that's a stop sign. So you need to think more about that. And then we just see that these economic developers now are free to do this work in workforce development and attraction, innovation, and marketing in their communities. We're seeing in broadband trends, and that study is also available on Landon on Broadband website. I'd encourage you to look at that and see what some of these strategies are doing. But they involve creation of business incubators and innovation centers. There's a lot of emphasis on the workforce development and attraction. And a lot of these places have done things like hackathons and codathons and have youth coding camps. And in the Brainerd area now, they've hired a regional talent recruiter that companies have joined together with the economic development folks to actually go out there and try and bring tech-savvy people to their community. And that's working very well. So you can take a look at that study. So know that the bandwidth utilization continues to rise rapidly. So the average family now uses about 300 gigabytes of data a month. So when you see the plans that say, it's a 10 gig plan or 20 gig, you know, that's a small percentage of what the average family uses. I was doing a strategic planning session with folks from electric co-op in northern Minnesota, and somebody said, well, how could that even be, a board member? And at the same exact moment, if this couldn't have happened better, one of the people at the table, their phone dinged, and it was a text from their cable television company that said, you've just exceeded your 350 gigabyte limit. This was in June. It's about June 18th or something. She says, I just know there's 5 kids sitting in my living room with about a dozen devices, downloading who knows what, uploading who knows what. And that was, she had 2 more weeks to go before her data cap would be, broken or whatever, or reestablished, reset. And so that's just going to keep happening. And now we have these 4K TVs, and we've got all these other devices. It's really important to recognize that. So you want a network for the future, not one that meets for today. And in our case studies, to go back to that, I don't know if people here have heard Dr. James Benson. He's like president emeritus of Bemidji State. He's about 80 years old and goes like crazy nonstop in terms of ideas and leadership. But he says Bemidji now is planning from the future, not for the future. And he thinks that's a critical difference. So I'll just let you think about that through the presentation. Know that as you're trying to attract businesses to your community, that direct fiber connectivity for any manufacturer is going to be a requirement. And so they're just not going to go where there's DSL service, so they're going to want to have the capabilities to get gigabit level service. Know also that fiber-fed wireless, especially in the prairie, is getting to be a pretty good alternative. So in the Renville Sibley Fiber Co-op, they've got a fiber ring around the county. They're serving wirelessly from the water towers. 50 megabit symmetrical service is available. And so that would be pretty good for a lot of people in rural parts of the state if they had that service. The key thing is that those towers all are served by fiber with gigabit level service to that tower. We have a lot of small wireless companies in Minnesota, but that backhaul for them is a critical issue, that if they have to buy that service from one of the bigger telecom companies, the price, the affordability of that, the amount of bandwidth available really precludes their ability to deliver that kind of service. As I mentioned, symmetrical is really important, same speed up and down. Here's some of the big cable companies talking about gig service available. It's 1,000 meg down and 50 meg up. They don't really advertise that. So if you got a manufacturer, engineering firm, that's just not going to be enough. In the RS Fiber territory, they now just announced a new business moving to Gibbon. About 400 people, I think there. 6 employees. They do 3D printing. That's their business. Those are some big files they're dealing with. Gibbon, that would have been a town that would have had to be in Wilmer previously. This is the capabilities. These are people from Gibbon for bringing their company home. And then real estate value. I mentioned the 70%. We know that fiber connectivity raises home values. I've seen numbers from 3,000 to 7,000 to 1.5% to 3% in value. If you're thinking about that, that'd be nice to have. Think of the inverse, what that does to homes that aren't connected. And we talk to realtors about lake property. One side is connected, the other side of the lake is unconnected. Homes on the non-connected side don't sell and sell for less. The FCC now has given money to CenturyLink and the bigger companies through what's called CAP 2. They have to design these networks to provide a minimum of 10 down and 1 up. None of this money really goes into towns because generally towns already have at least this level of service. But know that it's only going to go to about 80% of the unserved households in Minnesota. The other program is called ACAM, and that's to the companies like Arvig or New Ulm Telephone, the more companies that are more privately held, and the same type of coverage requirements. Their speeds are a little bit different, but these are incomplete solutions for rural areas. Public policy considerations. Last year, there was a legislature appropriated $20 million for the state broadband fund. We hoped for $100 million. We didn't come close to that, but at least we got something, which is good. There was applications for more than $50 million that applied for that, with other projects stacking up behind that weren't quite ready to be submitted. So we need money for that border-to-border broadband grant. And so know that rural broadband requires subsidies. Know that your rural cities, and I know this is a city's organization, your rural areas need to be connected. Because a lot of people who are choosing to live in a rural area, they don't necessarily want to live in a town, they want to live out in the country. And so check that out. And then finally, if you can't do your whole town to improve the broadband services, pick out the important parts. And use your own dollars and run some dark fiber to the industrial park or up and down your main street and find someone to operate that for you. More and more companies are looking to do that kind of management of publicly owned networks. So that's a good opportunity there. And so there's, you can see that list. Pick out some of those and improve your services. You can look here for these resources. Landing sends me out to help communities for up to 32 hours of assistance. The blog is landononbroadband.org. If you're interested in broadband, that's a key, very important resource. So thanks.